This one additive turns cold compost into steaming gold. If you've ever stood by your compost pile on a chilly morning, wondering why it feels as lifeless as the frost on your boots, you're not alone. We've all been there, checking, poking, turning, and waiting for that magical steam that means your compost is alive. But sometimes, no matter how much green and brown you balance, the pile just won't heat up. Here's the secret most gardeners overlook. There's one simple, natural additive that can turn your cold compost into a steamy, thriving nutrient factory. No chemicals, no fancy powders, just a powerful natural ingredient that's likely sitting right in your yard or kitchen. And once you use it, trust me, you'll never compost without it again. Welcome to SoilSage Chronicles, where we dig deeper, literally, into the science and soul of soil. Why your compost isn't heating up. Before we reveal the magic ingredient, let's talk about why compost sometimes stalls. Cold composting is slow because it depends entirely on passive microbial activity. Without enough energy, that's carbon, nitrogen, moisture, and air, the microbes go dormant. The result? A cold pile that might take over a year to break down. You can add all the kitchen scraps and leaves you want, but if the microbial community doesn't have a boost, it can't kickstart the decomposition process. This is where the secret ingredient comes in, something that wakes the microbes up, gives them energy, and fuels the internal furnace of your compost pile. The secret additive: fresh grass clippings, also known as green gold. That's right, the most effective natural compost activator is something you probably mow down every week: fresh grass clippings. Now, before you dismiss it as too simple, let's break down why grass clippings are so incredibly powerful for heating up compost naturally. Grass clippings are packed with nitrogen, the essential green component that microbes need to multiply and break down organic matter. When mixed properly into your compost, they act like a natural energy drink for your pile, triggering microbial activity, raising internal temperatures, and creating the perfect environment for rapid decomposition. But there's more. Fresh grass clippings contain natural sugars and amino acids that microbes absolutely love. Those sugars are instant fuel. Within hours, the microorganisms wake up, start multiplying, and you'll often notice the pile begin to warm by the next morning. Okay, so here's where most gardeners make mistakes, tossing in heaps of grass clippings that, honestly, just turn into a slimy, smelly mess. Grass is powerful, but it really needs balance and airflow to work its magic. Here's my tried and true method from SoilSage Chronicles. After mowing your lawn, go ahead and take your clippings and mix them into the compost in thin layers, alternating between green and brown materials. For every 1 part of grass, add 2 parts of dry carbon materials. Think dried leaves, shredded paper, straw, or cardboard. This keeps the compost aerated and prevents it from matting down. Turn the pile every 3 to 5 days at first. You'll start to notice a sweet, earthy smell, which is a sign of good microbial activity, and, if you're doing it right, you might even see visible steam escaping from the center of the pile. That's your compost coming alive. If you're in a dry climate, sprinkle a little water after every few layers to keep the pile moist, about as damp as a wrung-out sponge. Too dry, and the microbes slow down. Too wet, and the pile suffocates. Now here's what's happening beneath the surface, and honestly, this is where things get really fascinating. It's where gardeners like us totally geek out a bit. When you add fresh grass, you're feeding bacteria and fungi that thrive on nitrogen and simple sugars. As they multiply rapidly, they generate heat, sometimes raising the core temperature of the pile to, wow, 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 60 to 70 degrees Celsius. That heat is more than just a sign of decomposition. It's nature's disinfectant. At those temperatures, weed seeds, pathogens, and unwanted larvae are destroyed, leaving behind safe, rich compost full of life and nutrients. Supercharging the effect, simple tweaks. Now, if you want to take things a notch higher, and you know here at SoilSage Chronicles we always do, here are a few ways to supercharge that grass clipping magic naturally. First, add a handful of finished compost or garden soil. This introduces beneficial microbes right away, jump-starting decomposition. It's like adding a starter culture to yogurt, the good bacteria multiply faster. Second, include a few shovels of manure. A small amount of cow, goat, or chicken manure adds extra nitrogen and microbial diversity. Just don't overdo it. A little goes a long way when combined with grass. Third, use molasses water, which is an optional sweet treat. If you really want to turbocharge the microbes, dissolve a tablespoon of unsulfured molasses in a gallon of water and sprinkle it lightly over your pile. The sugars act as microbial rocket fuel, enhancing heat production and accelerating breakdown. And finally, keep it aerated. Every few days, turn or poke the pile to let air in. Oxygen keeps the compost aerobic, and aerobic microbes are the ones that create heat and prevent bad smells. The perfect timing for adding grass is super important. If you live in a cooler region or are entering a colder season, timing is key. Add fresh grass right after mowing, while it's still moist and green. Microbes respond immediately to freshness. Once grass dries out, much of its nitrogen is lost. For year-round composting, it's a good idea to store a few bags of dried leaves or even some shredded cardboard nearby. That way, even during those rainy seasons or super dry months, you'll always have the perfect balance of carbon and nitrogen materials to mix in. So, what should you expect during the compost transformation? Well, within just a few days, you should notice a rise in temperature. By day 3 or 4, the compost should feel warm when you dig into the center. You might even see a little steam on a cool morning. And honestly, that's a beautiful sign that your pile is thriving. After a few weeks of regular turning, those grass clippings will disappear, replaced by a rich, dark material that smells earthy and fresh. That's your living soil in the making, teeming with microbial life, enzymes, and humus. Once it's cooled and cured, give it about 4 to 8 weeks. This compost will be pure gold for your garden beds, container plants, and seedlings. Now, before you get too excited, here's one important word of caution. Never use grass that's been treated with herbicides or pesticides. Those chemicals don't just kill weeds, they can actually linger in your compost and harm your garden soil and plants. Always use untreated, chemical-free grass from your own lawn or from a trusted organic source. So, why does this method actually work and last? Well, grass clippings aren't just a quick fix. They create a self-sustaining compost ecosystem. Every time you add them, you're feeding the microbial population, balancing the carbon-to-nitrogen ratio, and, keeping that consistent heat going. Over time, you'll notice your compost piles break down faster, smell fresher, and, honestly, produce richer humus than ever before. You'll also cut down on lawn waste and recycle nutrients right back into your soil, closing the loop nature intended. That's really the true magic of this simple, natural additive. Now, here are a few final thoughts from the SoilSage. You don't need expensive compost starters or synthetic boosters. Sometimes, the most powerful solutions are, well, right under your feet. Literally, fresh grass clippings, when used correctly, turn sluggish compost into a vibrant living system that generates its own heat, transforms waste into wealth, and keeps your garden thriving all year round. So next time you mow, don't bag those clippings. Feed them to your compost. Your soil will thank you. If you found this tip helpful and you're ready to take your soil health to the next level, go ahead and subscribe to SoilSage Chronicles on YouTube. We're growing a community of gardeners who believe in working with nature, not against it. So, hit that subscribe button, share this article with a fellow gardener, and let's keep turning waste into life, one compost pile at a time.